but we always called it the hole because we would put something down in here that would be a long-term repair. I followed Lewis and Clark for several years and actually drove through their trail and so forth. And we had a very good customer that was also interested in it, and he knew that I had followed those trails. So he actually just found this board and painted a picture for me of Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea. It's a really old creeper. It's an oak creeper that they make them out of pine now or plastic. But that's a really old creeper, and I've used that. Yeah, I had to repair it a couple times. My dad bought that clock new in 1955 when he came here. The building has been a repair shop since it was built in 1925. And the front was added on sometime after that, and it was always a repair shop. In the 30s and 40s. And my dad came here in 55 with the fellow that owned the place. He lived right over there, actually. He passed away, and then my dad just took it over.
Yeah.
I had a teaching job for a while, and then my brother moved on, and I came over one summer in 1969 to help my dad, and then stayed ever since. Paint and air guns and supplies and body parts all along this wall, because actually my dad did body work in this little bay right here back in the day. And he even used lead rather than the body filler. Just about the unusual ones, we worked on, of course, all American cars all those years, and then Volkswagen started to manufacture and sell cars.
Right.
And so we were one of the first ones in the neighborhood to be involved in aftermarket or not dealer repair of Volkswagens, the Bugs, back in the early 60s. And that was an unusual car then.
Yeah.
For anybody that had a big Pontiac or Chevy or Dodge or whatever. And
So I'm sure you had lots of bugs in here back in those
We
days
did.
when they were popular.
yeah, that whole side of the building and inside here, you might not see any, or maybe just one or two American cars. They were mostly Volkswagen Beetles.
So you got a reputation for being the shop to take
Yeah,
your
a little
bug
bit.
to. That was good, because
Yeah.
those were guaranteed to break down.
They were fun little cars and not really hard to work on, but they needed work all the time.
Yeah.
Always needed something. But a pretty
Especially-
unique car for America.
Especially here in the Rust Belt, where cars
Yes.
rust out so fast. Those cars, I don't think, were ever really designed for the Rust Belt.
No, they really had their problems with rust. Then, as the Volkswagen was reaching their peak and they started having some trouble with emissions in the 70s and 80s, meeting the emissions for that engine, the Japanese cars started coming on.
Yeah.
And Toyota and back then Datsun started selling a lot of cars. People were a little shy of them at first, Japanese.
Yeah.
But they turned out to be really good cars, and we could see the fade from the Volkswagens into the Japanese cars in the 80s. It lives up until 1998. We had to make the ceiling raise up, put a hole up there actually, and that was the first lift we put in. Boy, what a difference. And then we put the second lift in, the same. Yeah, we've had so many wonderful people, customers over the years, some of which were a lot of the people that worked at Battelle. Most of them were scientists, all of them were actually. Some workers, but we had a large following of scientists that worked at Battelle who brought their cars here. And they were all interesting guys. They were all interested in their car pretty much. And they would even come down if we, I remember one time we replaced a clutch for a guy from Battelle. And we had it apart right here in this bay, jacked up. We had to work on our backs then, no lifts. And told him we had the clutch out. When he came down right away in his lab coat and got underneath the car with us and measured and looked. And so, yeah, those were interesting and fun times. Yeah. Another thing that Battelle had us do was convert some cars, and this is in the 60s, to LP gas, natural gas.
Yeah.
And we did some of that conversion for them. And so that was fun.
That would seem to be like a little thing where they were converting to LP gas that happened for a while, but then it kind of stopped.
It did.
I'm not sure why that didn't really take off.
Yes, that's right. We were converting them, and they were carbureted cars then, so it was a little tricky to do. So I don't know what happened there, if the cost of that was high then, or the availability, or there weren't any stations to refill them. I got my dealer's license. I parked it out in front as a reminder that this is the used car place. And somebody gave me the old guy.
The old guy wasn't underneath on the little creeper.
That's a really old creeper. It's an oak creeper that they make them out of pine now or plastic. But that's a really old creeper, and I've used that. So I had always had about 3 mechanics, 2 to 3, including myself. It was hard. I had a really, really good, I'll mention his name, Terry Henson. Excellent mechanic. He went on to be a master tech for AAA. So he and I worked together for years, and it was a really good relationship. We had a really hard time finding the second or third, fourth guy.
Right.
And couldn't really get anybody to stick. That worked out well. Then Terry had an opportunity after his master tech license to move on to a high position at AAA. So when he moved on, that was when I decided to be by myself and do the used cars, where I could buy them, fix them up myself, and sell them. Yeah, I had to repair it a couple of times. My dad bought that clock new in 1955 when he came here, and with the 3rd Avenue Auto on it. There's a good story. That yellow horn. You see that up there. My dad was he liked history also, and he acquired that horn from a riverboat on the Ohio River. And he just liked that sound, so he hooked it up to the air in the garage. And if you pull that chain, it'll rattle the windows in here. That's how it works.
All right, now we got to do it. It works. Yeah.
My license is due up in March. My dealer's license, I probably won't renew. And I'll probably close down the business officially, and I might hang on to the building for a while for my own purposes.
Yeah.
Just to play around. Been in business in Grandview here. Meet a lot of nice people.
Yeah.
Help them when I could.
Yep.
It's been a good life.